The hum of the production line was a symphony I'd composed myself. At 61, I walked the floor of Radford Precision, a place that felt more like home than my actual house. Every gleaming steel vat, every sterile bottling line was a testament to 36 years of 18-hour days. I nodded to a line manager, Maria, who'd been with me for 20 of those years. She nodded back, a silent understanding passing between us. We'd built this. I started this company with nothing. Just a chemistry degree, a $5,000 loan I barely qualified for, and a laboratory set up in a rented garage. I formulated medications, I managed production, I personally sold to pharmacies. I did it all, and it grew. The medications we developed gained a reputation for quality and fair pricing. Now Radford Precision was a name. I was, by all accounts, a successful man. That success had come with costs. My first marriage to Penelope hadn't survived the ascent. We married young, struggled together, and celebrated every small victory. But as the business grew, we drifted. It wasn't bitter. It was just divergent. We divorced amicably 8 years ago. I gave her a generous settlement, she moved on, and I moved on. We never had children. It was a shared regret, a quiet ache we'd both learned to live with. For a long time, the company was my only child, my only legacy. It was enough, or so I told myself. After the divorce, my life settled into a rhythm of work, board meetings, and quiet evenings in my large, empty house. I was content, but I wasn't happy. I just didn't know the difference yet. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. 5 years ago, I organized a medical conference at a high-end hotel in downtown Boston. That's where I met Evelyn Hayes. She was the event coordinator, 42, a widow, and utterly captivating. She was beautiful, intelligent, and moved with a kinetic energy that I found myself drawn to. We talked throughout the 3-day conference, first about logistics, then about life. She told me her story. She had married young to a man who turned out to be irresponsible, leaving her with a small daughter, Amanda, and no financial support. "I worked 3 jobs sometimes, Martin," she told me over coffee on the final day, her eyes holding a trace of that old exhaustion. Waitressing, cleaning offices, anything to raise Amanda, to make sure she got an education that she never went without. "Amanda is my world," she said, and her eyes welled up. "I sacrificed everything for her, and now that she's grown, she's 22, I can finally start thinking about myself." I was moved, deeply. Her dedication, her sacrifice. It was a kind of strength I understood. It mirrored the dedication I'd poured into my company. I asked for her number. We went out to dinner the next week. 3 months later, we were in a serious relationship. I felt a connection I hadn't felt in years, a warmth that my sterile, successful life had been missing. Evelyn was eager for me to meet Amanda. "You'll love her, Martin. She's so bright. Studying graphic design at a private university. It's been a struggle to afford it, but she's worth it." We met for brunch. Amanda was pretty, with her mother's eyes, but where Evelyn's gaze was warm and open, Amanda's was guarded, polite, distant. "It's nice to meet you, Mr. Radford," she said, shaking my hand. The grip was limp, formal. "Mom talks about you constantly." "The pleasure is all mine, Amanda," I replied, trying to smile warmly. "Your mom is an incredible woman." "I know," she said, her voice flat. "She's always been the best mom in the world." Throughout the meal, I tried to connect with her. I asked about her studies, her interests, her plans for the future. Her answers were always brief, polite, and utterly lacking in depth. It was like talking to a polite, well-trained wall. What kind of graphic design interests you most? Web? Print? It's all interesting, Mr. Radford. Are you working on any projects you're excited about? Just schoolwork mostly. Afterward, in the car, I mentioned her distance to Evelyn. Evelyn just laughed and touched my arm. Oh, Martin, don't worry about it. Amanda is just used to it being the two of us for so long. She's protective of me. Give her time. She'll warm up to you. I wanted to believe her. I gave her time. But the distant politeness never wavered. She wasn't hostile, just absent. It was a courtesy that maintained a 10-foot wall between us. 3 years ago, Evelyn and I got married. It was a small, intimate ceremony at a historic inn outside the city, with only close family and friends. Amanda was there, of course. She smiled in all the photos. She said all the right words. She hugged her mother. When I hugged her, I said, "Now you're my daughter too, Amanda." I felt her body tense up in my arms. The hug she returned was barely there. After the wedding, Evelyn and Amanda moved into my home in Beacon Hill. It was a large house, more than enough space for everyone. I wanted Amanda to feel truly welcome, not like a guest. I gave her the best room after hours. A suite, really, with a private bathroom, a walk-in closet, and a balcony overlooking the garden. I took her up to see it myself, opening the double doors. "I want you to feel comfortable here, Amanda. This is your home now." She walked in, her eyes scanning the room. "Thank you, Mr. Radford. That's very generous of you." The formality stung more than I expected. "Amanda, we're family now. You can call me Martin, or if you ever feel comfortable, Dad Martin or something. Mr. Radford sounds too formal." She gave me a small, tight smile. "I prefer Mr. Radford, if you don't mind. It's more respectful." Respectful. It felt like the opposite. It felt like a boundary, a line drawn in granite. I looked to Evelyn for help, but she just gave me that placating look. "She'll get there, Martin. It's only a matter of time." But months went by, and it didn't change. It was always Mr. Radford. The formal courtesy never cracked. She lived in my house, ate my food, but I remained Mr. Radford. What did change was her attitude toward my money. 2 months after they moved in, Amanda and Evelyn came to my study. I was going over quarterly reports for Radford Precision. Evelyn knocked on the open door. "Martin, do you have a minute? Amanda has something she wants to ask you." I swiveled in my chair. "Of course. Come in. What's on your mind, Amanda?" Amanda stood slightly behind her mother, a familiar posture. Evelyn spoke first. "Well, Martin, Mr. Radford, Amanda has found this incredible opportunity. A special digital design course in Barcelona. It's 6 weeks, run by one of the top agencies in the world." "It would be amazing for my career, Mr. Radford," Amanda chimed in, her voice holding more enthusiasm than I'd ever heard from her. "That sounds wonderful," I said. "A great experience." Evelyn winced slightly. "The thing is, Martin, it's very expensive. The tuition, the travel, the housing, it costs around $55,000. She rushed on. "I told her it was too much, that we couldn't possibly." I looked at Amanda. Her eyes were fixed on me, bright and expectant. This was the most engaged she had ever been with me. A test. I wanted to be a provider. I wanted to be the man who could give Evelyn and her daughter the security they'd never had. "Of course," I said, closing the report. If it's good for her education, I'd be happy to pay for it. Consider it an investment in your future, Amanda." Amanda's face lit up. It was like a switch had been flipped. For the first time, I saw a genuine, unguarded smile. "Seriously? Oh my God. Thank you, Mr. Radford. Thank you so much. This is going to be amazing." She rushed forward and gave me a quick, surprising hug. It was the first one she'd initiated. "I'm happy to help," I said, patting her back. Evelyn was beaming, tears in her eyes. "Martin, you're a saint." As I wrote the check, a small, uneasy part of me noted that the light in Amanda's eyes had only appeared when the dollar amount was named. But I pushed the thought away. I was building a family. This is what families did for each other. That $55,000 check was the key that unlocked the door, not to her heart, but to her wish list. The Barcelona course was just the beginning. A few months later, she came to me again. "Mr. Radford, the laptops they use in the design program are so much more powerful than mine. To really keep up, I'd need a new one. The 16-inch Pro model, with the upgraded processor and the professional design software." I paid for it, another $4,500. "Thank you, Mr. Radford. You are very generous." Then it was a professional-grade digital tablet. "It's what all the pros use to draw, Mr. Radford. It would make my portfolio work so much better." Another $2,000. "You're just so generous, Mr. Radford." With every purchase, Amanda became slightly friendlier. Not warm, exactly. The Mr. Radford never went away. But she would talk more, share anecdotes from her classes, even ask me about my day. It was a transaction. I provided the funds. She provided a performance of the grateful stepdaughter. "Mr. Radford, thank you so much for the computer. It's perfect. It renders my projects twice as fast." "I'm glad it helps, Amanda. I want you to have the best tools for your career. You are very generous." That was the word. Generous. I must have heard it 1,000 times over the next few years. It was her word for me. Not kind, not thoughtful, not dad, or even Martin. I was generous. It was the word you used for a foundation, for a sponsor, for a wealthy benefactor you didn't know personally. But I was in the same house. I was married to her mother. I told myself I was being too sensitive. I was building bridges, but it felt like I was just paying tolls. 2 years ago, Amanda graduated from her university. She'd done well, graduating with honors, thanks in no small part to the international courses and high-end equipment I'd funded. I was proud of what she'd accomplished. I wanted to give her a graduation gift that would mark the transition to her new life as a professional. At the celebratory dinner after the ceremony, Evelyn was crying with emotion. "My baby, a college graduate, with honors. Martin, I can't believe it." "You earned it, Amanda," I said, raising my glass. "To your future." "To the future," Amanda echoed, smiling. "I have a gift for you," I said, sliding a small box across the table. Inside wasn't jewelry, it was a key. Amanda's eyes went wide. "What is this?" "It's outside." We walked out to the valet. I'd bought her a brand new compact European SUV, a safe, reliable, professional car, perfect for a young designer in the city. Evelyn gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "Martin, you didn't!" Amanda was speechless for a moment. Then she smiled and gave me another one of her brief, stiff hugs. "Thank you, Mr. Radford. You really didn't have to do this." "I wanted to. I'm proud of you, Amanda. You graduated with honors." She stepped back, running a hand over the car's gleaming hood. "Well, she said with a small laugh. I couldn't have done it without your financial support. The words landed with a thud. Your financial support. Not your support. Not your encouragement. Not thank you for believing in me. My contribution was reduced to a line item. Financial support. As if I were a bank, not a stepfather. As if our entire relationship for the past 3 years could be summarized on a balance sheet. Evelyn was still crying with joy, oblivious to the chill I felt. Isn't he wonderful, Amanda? Isn't he the best? He's very generous, Amanda agreed, already opening the car door to check out the interior. I smiled, but it felt wooden. I loved Evelyn. I loved her deeply, and she was so happy. So I swallowed my unease. I continued to support Amanda, continued to fund this one-sided relationship, hoping that one day, eventually, it would become genuine. After graduation, Amanda started working at a design agency downtown. She earned a decent salary for a recent graduate, about $2,500 a month. But she continued to live with us, paying no rent, not contributing to utilities or groceries. I brought it up once, delicately. Amanda, now that you're working, have you thought about finding your own place? Getting that independence? Evelyn's expression changed instantly. Martin, why would you want Amanda to leave? There's plenty of space here. She's saving money. I don't want her to leave, I said quickly. I just thought perhaps she'd want to. I'm fine here, Amanda interjected, not looking up from her phone. Besides, I'm saving for the future. Saving for what? For when I get married. So I have some startup capital. You're getting married? I asked, surprised. I didn't know you had a boyfriend. I don't. Not a serious one. But eventually I will. And when that happens, I'm going to need money to start my life. The way she said it, so calculated, so planned, unsettled me. But Evelyn shot me a look that said, please let it go. So I did. 6 months later, Amanda brought a boyfriend home. His name was Robert. He was 28, worked as a sales manager at a tech company, and was, in a word, ambitious. He came from an upper-middle-class family, not rich, but comfortable, and he was clearly impressed by my house and my success. Mr. Radford, this is Robert, Amanda said. Robert, this is my stepfather. Not Martin, not my mom's husband. My stepfather. As if she needed to clarify for Robert's benefit that there was no real, biological, important relationship between us. A pleasure to meet you, Robert, I said, shaking his hand. His was a firm salesman's grip. The pleasure is all mine, sir. Truly. During dinner, Robert asked me an endless stream of questions about Radford Precision. How I'd built it, my growth strategies, my exit plans. It was less a conversation than an interview. Mr. Radford, what you've achieved is just incredible, he said, swirling his wine. Amanda told me you started with a small lab, and now, well, this house speaks for itself. You must be very proud. It was a lot of work for many years, I said evenly, and Amanda is just so lucky to have such a successful stepfather. There it was again. Successful. Not supportive, not caring. My primary value, my defining characteristic, was my bank account. After that dinner, Amanda and Robert became an official, inseparable couple, and the requests for money, which I had hoped would end with her graduation, instead intensified. A few months into their relationship, Amanda approached me. Robert was with her, standing just behind her, a silent show of support. Mr. Radford, she began, Robert and I want to take a trip to Europe. Oh, I said, looking up from my paper. Where to? Paris, Rome, and Berlin. We found an amazing 2-week tour, and it would be really good for my portfolio as a designer to see European architecture and art. I set the paper down. Amanda, you have a good job. Robert has a good job. Can't you save up for the trip yourselves? We are saving, she said, her voice taking on a slight whine. But it would take months, maybe a year to save up this much. The tickets alone. And Mr. Radford, you always say you should invest in experiences. This would be an educational experience. It sounds like a vacation, Amanda. This was when Evelyn, who must have been listening from the hall, chose to intervene. She walked in, wiping her hands on an apron. Martin, come on. They're young. If you can help them, it would be so nice. Andrea works hard. They deserve a little break. I looked at Evelyn, my wife, who I loved. I looked at Amanda, her daughter, who saw me as an educational fund. And I looked at Robert, who was just watching me, a small, confident smile on his face, as if he knew I'd fold. I was tired. It was easier to write the check than to have the fight. How much is it? About $20,000, Amanda said quickly. For the flights, hotels, and the tour. I sighed. Fine. I'll pay for it. Amanda and Robert celebrated. Evelyn kissed me, telling me I was the most generous man in the world. Amanda posted hundreds of photos on social media from the trip. Happy, smiling, kissing Robert in front of the Eiffel Tower, eating gelato by the Colosseum. Beautiful photos. She didn't tag me in a single one. She didn't thank me in any of the captions. But when she returned, she gave me a gift. A heavy, expensive-looking pen from a Parisian boutique. So you can think of us when you're signing checks, she said, laughing as if it were a clever joke. I looked at the $500 pen, bought with the money I had given them, and I didn't laugh at all. A year ago, Amanda came home, flashing a diamond ring. Robert had proposed. Evelyn was absolutely euphoric. She cried. She hugged Amanda. She called all her friends. My baby is getting married, she kept saying, dabbing her eyes. Amanda looked at me, her face glowing. Mr. Radford, Robert and I want to have a beautiful wedding. Something memorable. Can we talk about it? Of course, I said, forcing a smile. Congratulations, Amanda. I'm happy for you. Let's go to your study, she said, already pulling Robert by the hand. We sat down, me behind my desk, them in the 2 chairs opposite. It felt like a business meeting. Amanda pulled out her new laptop, the one I'd bought, and opened a full PowerPoint presentation. It was titled A&R's Big Day. She clicked through slides. Photos of venues, dresses, floral arrangements, catering options. It was all perfectly planned. We're thinking of the Foundry, she said, showing a picture of a beautiful, rustic industrial space downtown. The rental fee alone is $15,000, she went on. Catering for 150 people. A top-tier floral designer. A live band, a famous photographer, and a separate videographer. In total, she said, clicking to the final slide, we're estimating around $95,000. I felt the air leave my lungs. $95,000? Yes, she said, as if it were the most reasonable sum in the world. Robert and I have been saving, and we can contribute $15,000 between us. She paused. The unspoken $80,000 hung in the air. Evelyn, who had followed us in, took my hand. Martin, it's my daughter's wedding, my only daughter. I know it's a lot, but it's once in a lifetime. I looked at Amanda's expectant face. This was it. The big one. The culmination of 5 years of generosity. If I said no, I'd be the monster who ruined her dream wedding. If I said yes, I was cementing my role as nothing more than a bank. I loved Evelyn, and I was trapped. "It's fine," I said, my voice quiet. "I'll pay for it." Amanda's face lit up in a way I had never seen, not even for the car. She shrieked and jumped out of her chair to hug me. "Mr. Radford, you are incredible. You're the best. I'm going to have the wedding of my dreams." "I just want you to be happy, Amanda," I said, my voice hollow. Over the following months, I just kept writing checks. The $15,000 deposit for the venue, a $6,000 check for the couture wedding dress, $7,000 for the florist, $5,000 for the premium photographer. Every week there was a new invoice, a new request. "Mr. Radford, we found the perfect cake, but it's custom. It costs $3,500. Mr. Radford, we want special string lights on the ceiling of the venue. That's another $4,500. Mr. Radford, we need custom, letter-pressed invitations from a famous designer. It's only $3,000. And I paid. I paid for all of it. Because I loved Evelyn, and because in some small, stupid corner of my heart, I still hoped this grand gesture would finally bring me closer to Amanda. That she would finally see me as something more than a wallet. 2 months before the wedding, with the costs already soaring, Amanda came to my study again. This time she was alone. "Mr. Radford," she said, "Robert and I have been talking." "More wedding expenses?" I asked, not looking up from my work. "No, not exactly. It's, after the wedding. We're going to need a place to live." I looked up. "You're living here, rent-free." "I know, but we'll be married. We need our own space. We've been looking at condos." My stomach tightened. "And?" "We found the perfect place in Midtown. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, covered parking. It's a great investment, but we need help with the down payment." "How much is the down payment?" "It's $35,000, she said, the number rolling off her tongue easily. I leaned back in my chair. $35,000? Amanda, that's a lot of money. On top of the, what is it, $95,000 for the wedding? I know it is. But Mr. Radford, it's an investment. The condo will appreciate in value, and Robert and I will pay the mortgage, I promise. We just need help getting in the door." Evelyn appeared at the doorway, as if on cue. "Martin, please. It's for them to start their life together. Just to get them started." Her eyes were pleading. I felt cornered. "Let me think about it." Amanda didn't let me. For the next 2 weeks, she bombarded me. Emails with photos of the condo, texts with blueprints, a full financial analysis she'd typed up, showing how it was a great investment. It was a full-court press. And I finally caved. I was exhausted from the constant pressure. "All right," I said at dinner, and both she and Evelyn lit up. "I'll give you the money for the down payment." "Oh, Martin, thank you," Evelyn gushed. "But Amanda," I said, holding up a hand, "I want you to understand. This is the last major gift. I'm happy to help you get started, but after this, you and Robert need to be financially independent." "Of course, Mr. Radford, absolutely, and I promise, we will pay every cent of the mortgage. This is just to help us get started. Thank you, thank you." The next day, I wrote the check for $35,000. I put it in an envelope and gave it to her. She took it, put it straight into her designer bag, and gave me a quick, perfunctory hug. "Thank you, Mr. Radford. You are very generous." There was that word again. Generous. It happened 1 week before the wedding. I was in my study, reviewing the final vendor payment schedule. I had already paid out more than $50,000 in deposits and initial payments. with another $45,000 due the week of the event. The $35,000 check for the condo was still being processed by the real estate company. In total, I was in for over $130,000. My phone buzzed on the desk. A text message from Amanda. Amanda, Mr. Radford, I need to talk to you about the wedding guest list. I sighed, picking up the phone. Probably another cousin she'd forgotten to invite, which would mean another plate to pay for. Martin. What about it? Amanda. Well, the venue has limited capacity, and Robert and I have been reviewing it. There are too many guests and we need to cut back. Martin. I understand. Who are you going to cut? Then came the message. The one that changed everything. The one that split my life into before and after. Amanda. We decided that you aren't going to the wedding. It's a family event, not for strangers. I hope you understand. I read the message once, twice, a third time. My blood ran cold. The words blurred and refocused. Not for strangers. A stranger, after 5 years, after the education, the courses, the car, the trips, after paying for every single detail of the family event she was now uninviting me from. I was a stranger. I stared at the message for a full minute, my mind completely blank. Then, a cold, sharp anger, unlike anything I had ever felt, began to rise in my chest. I typed a single reply, my thumbs shaking. Martin. Does Eleanor know about this decision? The answer came back almost immediately. Amanda. I haven't told her yet, but Mr. Radford, I hope you can be mature about this. It's my day, and I only want to be surrounded by people who truly matter to me. People who truly matter to her. So I, the man who had paid for the dress, the food, the flowers, the venue, the condo, I didn't truly matter. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. Evelyn, I roared, my voice echoing through the house. Get in here now! Evelyn rushed into the study, her face pale with alarm. Martin, what is it? What's wrong? You scared me to death. I didn't say a word. I just held out my phone, the screen glowing with Amanda's words. It's a family event, not for strangers. I watched her face as she read it. The color drained away. Confusion, then shock, then a flicker of pure horror. Oh my God, she whispered. This has to be a mistake, a joke. She can't be serious. Read the next one, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. I scrolled down. It's my day, and I only want to be surrounded by people who truly matter to me. Evelyn looked up at me, her eyes wide with panic. Martin, I don't know what to say. She must be stressed. The wedding. She calls me a stranger, Evelyn. I'll fix this, Evelyn said, her voice rising. I'll call her right now. This is unacceptable. Good, I said. Call her, on speaker. No, let me talk to her first, privately. No, I cut her off. You'll call her now on speaker, or I'll walk out of this house and never come back. Martin, don't be so dramatic. Let me see that. She lunged for the phone. Before I could react, she snatched it from my hand. I thought she was going to make the call. Instead, her thumbs flew across the screen. What are you doing? I demanded. I'm fixing it. I saw the delete thread confirmation pop up. Evelyn, no! I grabbed for the phone, but it was too late. She pressed delete. The entire message history, the betrayal, the stranger comment, the people who matter line, vanished. She held the phone up, her hand shaking. There! It's gone. It was a horrible misunderstanding, Martin. A stupid, childish text. You're blowing this completely out of proportion and trying to ruin your daughter's wedding." I stared at her, the phone in her hand, the empty message screen. It wasn't just Amanda, it was Evelyn too. In that moment, she wasn't my wife. She was Amanda's mother, and she had just destroyed the evidence to protect her. The betrayal was so profound, so complete, it took my breath away. You deleted it," I whispered, disbelief warring with a white-hot rage. "It was a mistake," she cried, tears starting to stream down her face. "You were going to hold it over her head. I know you. You were going to ruin everything. I'm trying to save this family." "You just ended it," I said, my voice flat. "You just proved whose side you're on. You just made your choice." "No, I'm calling her. I'll prove it." Panicked, she fumbled with the phone, her hands shaking so badly she could barely dial. She found Amanda's contact and hit the speakerphone button. The phone rang once, twice. "Mom?" Amanda's voice, bright and cheerful. "Amanda, what is this? What did you send Martin?" Evelyn's voice was a strained, high-pitched wail. There was a pause. "Did he tell you already?" Amanda's voice turned cold, irritated. Not remorseful, irritated. God, I knew he'd be a baby about it. "Mom, I need to explain." "Explain what, Amanda? Explain calling the man who is paying for your entire life a stranger?" "Mom, don't you understand? It's my wedding. I want it to be perfect," Amanda hissed. "And having Mr. Radford there. It's awkward." "Awkward?" Evelyn shrieked. "Why on earth would it be awkward?" "Because, Mom," Amanda's voice rose, cracking with frustration. "All my friends, all of Robert's family, they know my real dad left when I was little. If Mr. Radford is there, they'll ask questions. They'll want to know who he is. And I don't want to spend my entire wedding day explaining that he's my stepfather, who's only been in our lives for 5 years. It's weird. He is my husband, Amanda. He is your family." "He's your husband, Mom, not my dad," Amanda shot back. "And frankly, he's just been someone who pays for things. I don't have a real relationship with him. He buys me things, I say thank you. That's the deal. That's all it's ever been. Someone who pays for things." The words, spoken so callously, so dismissively, landed in the quiet study like a bomb. Evelyn had tears streaming down her face. She looked at me, her expression shattered. "Amanda," she whispered, "that is the most cruel, ungrateful thing I have ever heard you say." "It's just the truth," Amanda said, defensive. "I'm grateful, okay? I'm grateful for the money, but that doesn't make him family. Mom, please just understand. I want a wedding where everyone there is truly a part of my life. And Mr. Radford, while he has been generous, isn't really a part of my life." I had been silent, frozen. But those words, "someone who pays for things," broke the ice. I reached past Evelyn and took my phone back. I pressed my thumb to the screen, ending the call. Evelyn stared at me, sobbing. "Martin, I don't—" I held up a hand. The rage was gone. It had been replaced by a cold, hard clarity. I finally understood. After 5 years of hoping, of paying, of making excuses for her, I finally understood. She was right. I wasn't family. I was a sponsor. And my sponsorship had just been revoked. "Martin, please," Evelyn begged. She's just stressed. The wedding, she doesn't mean it." "She's 27 years old, Evelyn," I said, my voice devoid of all emotion. "She means every single word, and you know it." My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. Amanda. Mom? Why did you hang up? Did he make you? This is exactly why I don't want him there. I looked at the text. Then I looked at Evelyn. If I'm just someone who pays for things. Evelyn, I said, my voice as cold as the grave. Then I guess my payments can stop. Evelyn's head snapped up, her eyes wide with a new kind of terror. What? Martin, no, you can't. The wedding. It's in 1 week. Everything is contracted. Not everything, I said. The final payments are still pending, another $45,000. And the condo? That $35,000 check hasn't cleared the real estate company's bank yet. I can still stop it. You wouldn't, she whispered. You wouldn't do that to her. To me. She called me a stranger. She uninvited me from the wedding I paid for. And then you deleted the proof, Evelyn. You tried to cover for her. You chose her. So yes, I would. That's revenge, Martin. It's cruel. No, I said, walking to my desk. It's not revenge. It's a consequence. She spent 5 years taking my money while treating me like an ATM. And now, when she has everything she wanted, the car, the career, the wedding, the condo, she discards me. But it doesn't work that way. If I'm a stranger, I'll act like one. Strangers don't pay for $95,000 weddings. Strangers don't give $35,000 down payments. My phone buzzed again. Amanda. Amanda. Mr. Radford? I know you're reading this. Don't be irrational. This is about my wedding. It's not about you. You're right, Amanda, I said to the phone. It is about your wedding. The wedding I am paying for. And if I'm not family enough to be there, then I certainly shouldn't continue financing your family event. I turned to Evelyn. You need to leave. Go to a hotel. Or go stay with your daughter. Martin, she shrieked. You're kicking me out? Over this? It's my daughter! I can't let her go without a wedding! You're my husband! And you're my wife. And you stood there and listened to your daughter call me someone who pays for things, and then you erased the evidence to protect her. You protected the person insulting me, not the person being insulted. So no, I'm not your husband right now. I'm just a checkbook, and the checkbook is closed. Evelyn cried for hours. She begged, she pleaded, she threatened divorce. I mean it, Martin. If you do this, if you humiliate my daughter, we are done. I will not stay with a man who is so vindictive. Vindictive? I looked at her, my face hard. She's 27, Evelyn, not 7. She is an adult who made an adult decision. She uninvited me. She called me a stranger. And you want me to… What? Just accept it? Keep writing checks for the privilege of being insulted? She's young. She doesn't understand what she's saying. She's old enough to understand exactly what she's saying. And you are old enough to know better than to defend it. You need to understand something. This is not just about Amanda. This is about respect. My respect. If I allow her to treat me like this without consequences, I'm teaching her that it's perfectly fine to use people and discard them. And I'm teaching you that it's okay to let it happen. Please, Martin, I'm begging you. Just this one last time. For me. Let it go. We'll go to the wedding. We'll smile. And afterward, I will talk to her. I promise. No. The time for talking is over. You've made your position clear and she's made hers. Now I'm making mine. She stared at me, her tears turning to anger. You're a monster, Martin. A cruel, cold-hearted monster. And you're an enabler, Evelyn. And your daughter is a user. Now get out of my house. She finally left, sobbing, threatening lawsuits and divorce. The door slammed shut, and the house fell into a profound, heavy silence. I sat in my study, the silence ringing in my ears. I barely slept. Part of me felt I was being too harsh, that I was destroying my marriage. But another part, the part that had been used for 5 years, the part that had been called a stranger, knew this was the only thing I could do. This wasn't just a boundary, it was a barricade. The next morning, at 8 a.m. sharp, I called my lawyer, Mr. Fletcher. Fletcher, I need to stop a check. A personal check for $35,000 to a real estate company. It was issued 2 days ago. Can it be done? Mr. Radford, good morning. If it hasn't been cashed and fully processed, yes. A stop payment is simple. May I ask why? It was a gift for a condo down payment for my stepdaughter. She has chosen to sever ties. I am choosing to rescind the gift. There was a pause. Understood, Mr. Radford. I'll file the stop payment immediately. I'll need the check number. I gave it to him. There's more, Fletcher. I've been financing her wedding. I've paid deposits, but the final balances are due this week. Around $45,000. I will not be paying them. I assume the vendors will come after me. Did you sign the contracts? Yes, most of them. Then you are likely liable, Martin, unless there's a breach of contract on their part. There's a breach of contract on her part, I said, my voice grim. She breached our family contract, but I have no proof. My wife deleted it. Deleted what? I told him the story, the text, the stranger comment, the someone who pays for things. Evelyn deleting the message thread. Fletcher was silent for a long moment. My God, Martin, that's monstrous. Okay. Deleting the text is a problem. It makes it your word against theirs. But it also shows your wife's complicity, which could be relevant in a divorce. For now, let's deal with the vendors. You can refuse to pay, but they will likely sue you, and you'll have to fight it. I don't care, I said. I'm not giving them another dime. Let them sue me. Let them sue her. She's the one having the party. A more direct approach might be better. Call each vendor personally. Tell them the situation. Tell them you will no longer be funding the event, and that all future invoices must be directed to Amanda Hayes and her fiancé, Robert. Tell them you are stopping payment on all outstanding checks. That's exactly what I'll do. I hung up with Fletcher and spent the next 3 hours on the phone. The caterer, the florist, the band, the photographer, the venue manager. The conversations were all variations of the same theme. This is Martin Radford. I am calling regarding the Hayes-Robert wedding. I regret to inform you that I will no longer be financing this event. All outstanding balances, yes, the $15,000 final payment, will need to be collected from Ms. Amanda Hayes directly. I am stopping all payments, effective immediately. Some were understanding, some were furious. All of them understood that without my money, they needed to contact Amanda, and that if she couldn't pay, they would have to cancel. I felt a cold, grim satisfaction. The bleeding had stopped. A few days later, my phone rang. An unknown number. I was in no mood for telemarketers, but something made me answer. Hello? Mr. Radford? Is this Martin Radford? The voice was male, young, and laced with panic. Who is this? It's Robert, Amanda's fiancé. I sat up straight. You have a lot of nerve calling me son. Sir, please, just hear me out. You were right. You were right about everything. A little late for that, isn't it? The wedding is in 2 days. There is no wedding, he said, his voice cracking. It's all canceled. The venue, the caterer, Everyone called. They all want money, now. Money we don't have. Amanda, she's insane, Mr. Radford. She's screaming and crying, blaming me, blaming you. She's ruined everything. We're buried in debt. The deposits you paid are gone, and now these companies are threatening to sue us for the balance. That sounds like your problem, Robert. You're marrying her. I'm not marrying her, he yelled. It's over, but I'm still on the hook. My name is on some of those contracts too. She's destroyed my finances. Again, I said coldly. Why is this my concern? Because I can help you. I paused. Help me how? Evelyn, your wife. Amanda told me what she did. She deleted the text messages, didn't she? The stranger comment. My knuckles whitened on the receiver. Yes. So right now, it's your word against theirs. They'll say you're a vindictive old man who threw a tantrum. But I have more. More what? Proof, Robert whispered. I have recordings, Mr. Radford. On my phone. Conversations with Amanda from the last few months. Where she brags about it. My heart hammered. Brags about what? About you. About how she has you wrapped around her finger. About how you're just the generous old fool, and how after the wedding and the condo, she and I could finally stop pretending to like you so much. She called you the stranger weeks ago, Mr. Radford. It was her nickname for you. I closed my eyes. The disgust was a physical, bitter taste in my mouth. I'll give it to you, Robert said, his voice desperate. All of it. But I need something in return. When this all goes to court, and it will, I need you to absolve me. The vendors, the trip to Europe. I want you to make it clear that I was duped too, that I'm not liable for the money she conned you out of. Please, Mr. Radford, she's going to destroy me if you don't. The man was a coward, a rat deserting a sinking ship, but he was a rat with exactly what I needed. Where and when? I said. We met at a discreet, quiet coffee shop in the back bay, far from my neighborhood or his office. He was already there, hunched over a table in the back, nursing a coffee, his eyes darting around nervously. He looked terrible. He hadn't shaved, and his expensive suit was rumpled. I sat down opposite him without a word. Mr. Radford, thank you for coming. Give it to me, I said. He fumbled in his jacket pocket and pulled out a small black USB drive. He slid it across the table. It's all there, he said, his voice low. Audio files. She used to talk on speakerphone a lot when she was driving. Talking to her mom, talking to her friends. I started recording them a while back. She sounded so arrogant, I guess I wanted insurance, in case she ever turned on me. And she did, I stated. She told me it was my fault, he whispered, leaning in. That if I were a real man, I would handle you. That I should have convinced you to pay, and that I was weak. Then she said she'd find someone who could give her the lifestyle she deserved. And the Europe trip? I asked, pocketing the drive. That was her idea, all of it. She told me to ask you about your business, to flatter the old man. She never respected you, Mr. Radford, not for 1 second. I stood up. I felt no pity for him. He had been a willing participant right up until the moment the money dried up. But he had delivered. I'll give this to my lawyer, I said. He'll be in touch. As long as this is what you say it is, you have my word. I will instruct him to focus his efforts on Amanda and Evelyn. You'll be a witness, not a defendant. He slumped in his chair, a wave of relief washing over his face. Thank you, sir. God, thank you. I walked out of the coffee shop, the small USB drive heavy in my pocket. I felt disgusted, but I also felt armed. The fog of he said, she said was about to burn away. Weeks turned into a month. The canceled wedding was old news. I had filed for divorce from Evelyn, citing irreconcilable differences. Her lawyers, in turn, had filed a response. Then, the real attack came. I was served with 2 lawsuits on the same day. The first was from Evelyn. As my lawyer, Mr. Fletcher, had predicted, she was filing for divorce. But she wasn't just accepting the terms of our prenuptial agreement. We had married under a separation of assets agreement, meaning what was mine stayed mine, and what was hers stayed hers. But Radford Precision had grown significantly in the 5 years we were married. Her lawyers were arguing that she had contributed indirectly to that growth by managing the home and supporting me emotionally, allowing me to focus on the business. They were asking for half of the company's growth during the marriage, a sum in the tens of millions. "That's ridiculous," I told Fletcher over the phone. "She worked full-time as an event planner. She wasn't a homemaker." "I know, Martin. It's a weak argument, but it's a common one. They're trying to force a settlement. But it's the second one you really need to see." The second lawsuit was from Amanda. She was suing me for $1.5 million. The claims were breach of verbal promise regarding the $35,000 condo down payment and infliction of severe emotional distress. The legal document was a masterpiece of fiction. It painted me as a cruel, controlling patriarch who had established a pattern of financial control over Amanda for 5 years. It claimed I had provided expensive gifts and financial support with the expectation of obedience. When the plaintiff, Fletcher read, his voice dripping with disbelief, exercised her right to set a simple boundary at her own wedding, the defendant, Martin Radford, vindictively withdrew all support, including a condo he had explicitly promised. It went on. The defendant's actions caused the plaintiff severe emotional distress, forcing her to incur significant debt for her wedding after she had planned everything based on his promises. $1.5 million, I said, stunned by the sheer audacity. She genuinely believes she deserves to be compensated for losing access to my money. As I said, Martin, they're not trying to win in court. They're trying to make this so public and so ugly that you'll pay them to go away. I won't, I said, the ice returning to my voice. I won't settle. I won't give them one more cent. If Amanda wants to fight this in court, let her. We have the USB drive. Good, Fletcher said, because she's not just fighting in court. The lawsuits were leaked to the press. Amanda's lawyer, no doubt. It was a calculated move. Suddenly, my name was in the local papers, gossip blogs, talk shows. Amanda, it turned out, was very good at playing the victim. She gave tearful interviews, always with the same narrative. Marcus Radford is a controlling man who uses his money to manipulate people, she said, dabbing her eyes on a local morning show. For years, he made me believe he would support me, that he was my family. But when I set a simple boundary at my own wedding, he punished me. He took everything away, including a condo he had promised. Now, she'd say, her voice breaking, my ex-fiancé and I are in debt for years, all because of him. The story resonated with some people. The evil rich stepfather is an easy trope to sell. The comments on social media were brutal. Rich people think they can control everyone with money. What kind of monster abandons his stepdaughter on her wedding day? He promised her that condo. Andrea is right to sue. He's a bully. My company, Radford Precision, was even mentioned, We got a few angry emails. A small, obnoxious protest was planned. My PR team was in damage control mode. They wanted me to issue a complex, corporate-sounding non-apology. I refused. I wasn't going to play their game. I would not do interviews. I would not engage in a public mudslinging match with a 27-year-old. Instead, I had my team post a simple, direct statement on the homepage of the Radford Precision website. It was written by me, signed by me. A statement from Martin Radford. I have seen the public accusations made by Amanda Hayes, my stepdaughter, and I feel obligated to clarify some facts. For 5 years, I voluntarily supported Amanda financially. I paid for her private education, her international courses, bought her a car, and paid for the majority of her wedding. At no point was this support mandatory. It was a gift, given with the hope of building a family relationship. 1 week before her wedding, after I had already paid approximately $50,000 in expenses, Amanda sent me a text message informing me I could not attend the wedding. She stated it was a family event, not for strangers. When I questioned this, she confirmed her position, stating I was not truly family, but rather just someone who pays for things. In response to this, I canceled the pending, unpaid balances for the wedding and stopped payment on a voluntary condo down payment I had considered giving her. I did not do this out of revenge. I did it because I finally understood that Andrea saw me only as a source of money, not as family. Andrea could have had her wedding. She simply had to pay for it herself, as millions of couples do. I do not apologize for setting boundaries with someone who used me for years. I will not pay compensation for withdrawing a gift that was completely voluntary. This will be my only public statement on the matter. This is now a legal issue, and I will see it through in court. The response was immediate. The narrative began to shift. The comment sections of those same articles and blogs lit up with a new perspective. Wait, he paid $50,000 good for the wedding, and then she excluded him? That changes everything. She called him a stranger and still expected him to pay? Lamau, someone who pays for things. Andrea is the manipulator here. Mr. Radford set healthy boundaries. Amanda tried to respond with another tearful video, claiming I had twisted the truth and taken her words out of context. But it was too late. Enough people had seen through her narrative. The public sympathy she had counted on was drying up. 4 months after the canceled wedding, we had our first hearing. The courtroom was small, but the tension was thick. I sat with Mr. Fletcher at one table. Across the aisle sat Evelyn and Amanda with their 2 lawyers. They both refused to look at me. Amanda's lawyer went first. He was slick. He presented text messages, cherry-picked, of course, where I had said things like, "I'll help you with the down payment." He argued this constituted a verbal, contractual promise, and that Amanda had made financial decisions based on that promise. Then Evelyn's lawyer stood up. He argued that Evelyn's emotional support and home management, while working a full-time job, had freed Mr. Radford to focus on his business, and she was therefore entitled to a massive share of its growth, regardless of the prenuptial agreement. When it was Fletcher's turn, he stood up carrying a small laptop. "Your Honor," he said, his voice calm and powerful, "what we have here are 2 clear-cut attempts at financial manipulation, disguised as legitimate lawsuits. They are frivolous, and they are an abuse of the legal system." He turned to Amanda's lawyer. "Let's start with Ms. Hayes. Her lawyer claims Mr. Radford made a contractual promise. There was no contract. There was no obligation. There was only voluntary support. Support that Mr. Radford provided for 5 years. Then, Fletcher continued, his voice rising. After Mr. Radford had already paid over $50,000 for her wedding, Ms. Hayes excluded him, calling him a stranger. Mr. Radford simply exercised his right to withdraw voluntary support. You cannot sue someone for deciding to stop giving you gifts. My client disputes that, Amanda's lawyer shouted. Mr. Radford is twisting her words. He has no proof of this stranger comment. Evelyn and Amanda both sat up straighter, a look of smug confidence on their faces. This was their ace. Evelyn had deleted the proof. On the contrary, Fletcher said, tapping the laptop, we have a great deal of proof. Fletcher turned to the judge. Your Honor, we have audio evidence that not only corroborates Mr. Radford's version of events, but proves that Ms. Hayes's victim narrative is a complete fabrication. This evidence was provided by her own fiancé, Mr. Robert. Amanda's head snapped toward her lawyer. Evelyn went white. This is a recording, Fletcher explained, of a phone call between Ms. Hayes and a friend, 2 weeks before the stranger text was ever sent. He hit play. The courtroom was silent, and then Amanda's voice, clear, high, and arrogant, filled the room. Amanda, audio. Oh my God, he's so easy. I just cried a little about the condo and he folded. The generous old fool. He'll sign the check tomorrow. Friend, audio. What about after the wedding? You'll still have to see him all the time. Amanda, audio. Please, once I have the condo and the wedding is paid for, we can finally stop pretending. Robert and I will be too busy to come to family dinners. I mean, he's not even family. He's just someone who pays for things, you know? He's a stranger. Mom's problem, not mine. Fletcher stopped the recording. I looked across the aisle. Amanda was ashen, staring at the floor. Evelyn was covering her mouth, her body shaking. Her lawyer was shuffling papers, his face grim. We have more, Your Honor, Fletcher said quietly. A recording of Ms. Hayes telling her mother that having Mr. Radford at the wedding would be awkward and weird. We have the message where she admits Mr. Radford is just someone who pays for things. The text my client's wife, Mrs. Hayes, tried to destroy. Fletcher turned to Evelyn's lawyer. And as for Mrs. Hayes's claim, she signed a prenuptial agreement, a separation of assets. She cannot now, in this divorce, claim rights she specifically and legally rejected. Her attempt to delete the evidence on her husband's phone to protect her daughter's lawsuit is further proof of her bad faith. The judge had heard enough. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, looked down from the bench. She took off her glasses and rubbed the bridge of her nose. I have reviewed all the evidence in both cases, she said, her voice sharp with annoyance. And frankly, I am disappointed. These cases represent exactly the type of legal manipulation that clogs our judicial system. She turned her gaze directly on Amanda. Ms. Hayes, you accepted, by your own admission, hundreds of thousands of dollars in financial support over 5 years. You then excluded the provider of that support from your wedding, calling him a stranger and someone who pays for things. And now you have the audacity to sue for compensation because he withdrew that voluntary support. This has no legal merit whatsoever. Case dismissed. Then she turned to Evelyn. Mrs. Hayes, you married under a separation of assets. That was your choice. You cannot now, because the marriage has failed, claim rights that you specifically rejected. Your attempt to destroy evidence is noted and appalling. Your case is also dismissed. Amanda let out a small sob. Evelyn just stared, defeated. Furthermore, the judge added, I find that both of these lawsuits were filed in bad faith and with frivolous intent. Both plaintiffs will pay the defendant's legal costs. These actions have consequences. We are adjourned. The gavel cracked. It was over. Amanda and Evelyn left the court devastated, surrounded by their lawyers, refusing to answer questions from a local reporter who had shown up. I left with Fletcher. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel triumphant. I had won, legally. But I had lost a family, or at least the idea of one I'd been clinging to. I just felt a quiet, profound sadness, and for the first time in months, a sense of peace. 2 weeks after the court ruling, I received an unexpected text. It was from Robert. Robert. Mr. Radford, I saw the news. Congratulations. I just wanted to let you know Amanda and I are officially over. We're getting divorced. I stared at the message. They had actually gone through with the wedding? I hadn't known. It must have been a small, cheap courthouse affair. Martin. I'm sorry to hear that, Robert. Robert. Don't be. You were right about everything. I tried. I really tried to make it work. But after the lawsuit failed, she got worse. I asked her to change, to contribute equally, to stop spending money we don't have. She refused. She said she deserves a certain lifestyle, and that it's my job to provide it. I can't live like this. Martin. How is Evelyn? Robert. Devastated. I think she's finally seeing who Amanda really is, but it's hard for a mother to admit that about her child. She's been living with us. It's been a nightmare. Martin. I wish you luck, Robert. Robert. Don't be sorry for me, Mr. Radford. You warned me. I wish I had listened. I put the phone down. Divorced after what couldn't have been more than a few months. The wedding of her dreams had turned into a financial and emotional nightmare. A consequence, as I'd told Evelyn. A month after that, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I looked at the security camera. It was Evelyn. She looked tired, older. The last few months had been hard on her. That much was clear. She was alone. I buzzed her in. She stood awkwardly in my foyer, the one she had helped decorate. Martin, she said, her voice small. Can I come in? What for, Evelyn? To serve me with new papers? No, she said, shaking her head. To apologize, truly. No agenda, no asking for anything, just to apologize. I hesitated, then motioned to the living room. We sat down, a football field of carpet between us. Martin, she began, twisting her hands in her lap. You were right. About Andrea. About everything. I enabled her for years. I see that now. I defended her when I shouldn't have. I prioritized her comfort over your dignity, and I destroyed our marriage in the process. I just listened. I've been living with her and Robert, she continued, before he left, and I've seen things I didn't want to see. The way she treated him when he wouldn't give her money for something she wanted. The way she talks about you, not with pain, Martin, but with pure resentment. Resentment that someone finally told her no. And now, she said, a bitter laugh escaping her. She blames me. She blames you? Oh, yes. She says if I had been a better wife, I would have controlled my husband. She says it's my fault she lost the condo. My fault Robert left her. My daughter, Martin, she's getting divorced after 4 months of marriage because she couldn't accept living without luxuries she can't afford. And instead of reflecting, she blames everyone but herself. And now what, Evelyn? Now, I finally told her. I told her what I should have told her years ago, that she needs to grow up, that she needs to get a second job if she wants that lifestyle, and that I am no longer going to financially rescue her. Ever again. How did she take it? She went ballistic, Evelyn whispered. She told me I'm as cruel as you are, that I'm abandoning her. She hasn't spoken to me in a week. And how do you feel? I asked. She looked up, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of the woman I'd first met. Free, she said, a tear rolling down her cheek. For the first time in years, I feel free. Because I finally stopped letting her manipulate me. I finally set boundaries. Evelyn and I began to talk. Slowly, carefully. She moved into a small apartment of her own. We'd meet for dinner. We took walks. It was fragile. The trust was shattered. But the affection, I realized, was still there. I can't go back, Evelyn, I told her one night. I can't go back to a relationship where your daughter has so much power, where every decision has to be filtered through, what will Amanda think? It won't be like that, she promised. Martin, Andrea, and I barely speak. She's furious with me, and while it hurts, it's also liberating. Months passed. It was hesitant, but we were rebuilding. She eventually asked if she could come home. With clear conditions, I said. If Amanda ever becomes a problem between us again, if you prioritize her demands over our marriage, it's over, for good. There will be no third chance. Understood, she said. She moved back in. It was a slow process, but we were talking. We were laughing again. About 6 months after she'd moved back in, we were in the kitchen making dinner. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen. It's Amanda, I tensed. Put it on speaker, I said. She nodded and hit the button. Hello, Amanda? Mom! Amanda's voice was a desperate wail. Mom, I need help. What's wrong? Evelyn asked, her voice steady. I'm about to be evicted, Mom. I can't pay my rent. My roommate moved out and I can't afford it alone. Evelyn closed her eyes. This was it, the test. Amanda, you have a job, Evelyn said. It doesn't pay enough. I need you to lend me money. Just $4,000, just to catch up. Please, Mom. I'm your daughter. It's an emergency. There was a long silence. I watched Evelyn. She took a deep breath. No, she said. The silence on the other end was deafening. What? What did you say? I said no, Amanda. It's not an emergency, it's a consequence. A consequence of living beyond your means, of not adjusting your lifestyle to your financial reality. I can't believe you, Amanda shrieked. You're doing this to me. After everything Marcus did, now you're abandoning me too? You're just like him. Amanda, Marcus didn't do anything to you except set a healthy boundary. And I am finally doing the same thing. If you can't afford your apartment, get a cheaper one. Get a second job. Sell your designer bags. There are many options, but I am no longer one of them. You're a terrible mother. I'm a mother who is finally doing the right thing, Amanda. I love you. Goodbye. Evelyn hung up. Her hand was shaking. She leaned against the counter and began to cry. But they were different tears. Not tears of guilt. They were tears of liberation. I walked over and put my arms around her. Are you okay? I asked. She nodded against my chest, her voice muffled. I'm fine. It hurts. God, it hurts. But I know I did the right thing. 1 year after that disastrous canceled wedding, Evelyn and I renewed our vows. It was nothing like the $95,000 monstrosity Amanda had planned. It was a small, intimate ceremony on a windy afternoon on the deck of our beach house. with only 10 of our closest friends. Amanda was not invited. Evelyn maintained minimal, cautious contact with her. But we both knew that having Andrea in our lives meant having drama in our lives. We had built a new foundation, Evelyn and I. A foundation built on honesty and on the clear, painful, and necessary understanding that our marriage came first. "I finally understand," Evelyn told me, as we held hands after the ceremony. "A healthy marriage requires the two of us to be the priority, not the adult children, not the extended family. Us." I looked at my wife. I finally saw her as my partner, not as Amanda's mother, but as my wife. According to Evelyn, Amanda eventually lost her expensive apartment. She moved into a small, modest studio in a less fashionable part of town. She got a second job, waitressing on weekends, to pay her debts. She was, very slowly, very gradually, being forced to mature. She began to understand that the world did not, in fact, owe her the lifestyle she desired. "Maybe in a few years," Evelyn said to me one night, "when she has truly changed, we can try to rebuild some kind of relationship. All three of us." "Maybe," I said. "But Evelyn, if that day ever comes, it will be on our terms, with clear boundaries, no expensive gifts, no financial rescues, just a basic relationship of mutual respect." "That's fair," she said, and she meant it. My stepdaughter sent me a text message telling me I couldn't go to her wedding because it was a family event, not for strangers. I had paid for that wedding. I had paid for her education, her car, and her European vacations. My response was simple but devastating. I canceled the pending payments. I canceled the condo. I set the boundaries I should have set years earlier. It was painful. It almost destroyed my marriage. It resulted in frivolous lawsuits, public attacks, and months of bitter conflict. But it was necessary. Because Andrea never saw me as family. She saw me as a source of money. And when I threatened that source, she showed her true character. That day, when she called me a stranger, I finally understood who she really was. And that understanding, though painful, was liberating. It allowed me to stop pretending. It allowed me to stop confusing generosity with love. It allowed me to finally establish healthy boundaries. From my home in Beacon Hill, at 61 years old, with a marriage rebuilt on a foundation of solid rock instead of sand, I've learned one fundamental thing. Generosity must not be confused with being used. You must distinguish between the people who love you and the people who love what you can do for them. My stepdaughter called me a stranger, and I responded by treating her as what she had made me, someone outside my circle of unlimited generosity. It was the best decision I ever made. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.